Hi, I'm Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. Today we're going to take a look at a rose garden foil toppers by Paper Wishes. The rose garden topper set by Paper Wishes was originally created by hot off the press for a major TV shopping network. And they had some of the kits left. I purchased those up and I wanted to do some card samples for you. So let's take a look at what you get in the kit. We'll start by taking a look at these topper sheets. They are die cut, they are foiled, and there's some really pretty patterns. One of the things I noticed as I was doing this kit is that some of the sentiment toppers are really big. So I think you're going to find that on a lot of these I've used the sentiments on the inside instead of the outside of the card. But you do get some really nice sentiments. Your friendship means so much to me. Hello there. Happy thoughts. Sending you sunshine and smiles. Hoping you're having a beautiful day. Hoping this makes you smile. Look at those gorgeous purple roses and this nice border piece, just because, thinking of you. Have a beautiful day. In total, there are 12 sheets of toppers here. Love you. Have a beautiful day. Just because. Look at those colors. Oh my. Beautiful. And they've done a really nice job with the foiling on this one. Look at that. Different kinds of color themes in this one. I love this with the black, isn't that stunning? Pretty things. Now you can see there are a lot of toppers in this kit. Paper Wishes put together this kit with 12 toppers as well as some background papers, and in this kit it's unusual because they're actually supplying 24 US A6 cards. That's the 5 by 6.5 along with the envelopes. It was a lot of fun, but slightly challenging for me, who's used to grabbing whatever card size I want to work on primarily A6 cards. After I got the 24 cards to use up the A6 cards and envelopes they supplied, I just kind of used whatever I darn wanted. Okay, so that's the toppers. Let's take a look at the papers here. They're kind of supplied in printer's sheets, so they tend to be 2 up, but I think you can see the patterns that they're providing. Kind of get in and out of camera here. I apologize for that, but since this is a sample kit, I don't really want to tear somebody else's papers apart. So that's 8 so far, 8 sheets. This would be 10. 12, 14, looks like you get 16 pieces of paper. Now you will notice that these are a lot lighter weight than the Adorable Scorable we're used to working with on Hunky Dory kits. And I have to admit again, that actually took a little bit of adjustment for me, but it worked out just fine. You will see a couple, and I'll point them out as we get to them, where I've actually used this paper on top of a piece of Adorable Scorable because I wanted to wrap a ribbon around the card. I'll show you what I did there. Okay, next let's take a look at the supply list that I used in the cards that I'm going to show you. I added my own gold mirror board. You know from our other videos that I really like covering my card in mirror, especially when I have foiled and die-cut toppers to use. So I used a lot of mirror. Since most of it's going to be gold, in this case this is a great way to get your gold Mary board for these kinds of card kits. This is a 7 by 7 pack and it comes with 75 sheets. So you get lots and lots and lots of cards out of one pack of this. I cut a few borders using the 2 Lacy Borders dies from Paper Artist. I could have done even more, but I did a couple just for illustration so you could see using die cuts together with these cards. Many, not all, but many of the ribbons that I used on my cards came from one of these 10 ribbon sets. That's where I got my crocheted ribbon I used on several cards. And again, these kits will vary from kit to kit, but some that are common to most of the kits are this glitter ribbon, the purple ribbon, crocheted ribbon. So there's some really nice material in there and a real value price. I used my tattered lace detail glue with the little specialty cap. At this point, that special's still on that glue. I used my best glue ever for attaching my bows. I used lots of foam squares. Use Hunky Dory, they're all great. I used a variety of ribbon slides. These have been tremendously popular, and we've already brought in a whole bunch more styles. So even if you've looked at these, look again, because we have lots of new styles in those ribbon slides. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at some of our cards. Now, as I said, unless I tell you otherwise, these are all going to be US A6 cards, and these are the cards that were included in the kit. The measurements are 5 inches this way by 6.5 inches this way. Now, I mentioned that in some cases I took my paper and put it on a piece of mirror board so that I could wrap my ribbon around. This happens to be one case right off the bat where I did that. I cut my paper here slightly smaller, 1/4 of an inch smaller each way, so that would be 4 3/4 by 6 1/4 in this burgundy piece. And then I attached that to a piece of Adorable Scoreable. The reason I did that is that I wanted to be able to set this sheet up on some foam squares so that I could wrap this crocheted ribbon around the card, and I think that's just really pretty. Then I used my 2 big toppers, my little butterfly, added a couple of items of bling there, some little Aurora Borealis rhinestones, self-adhesive. Didn't do much on the inside, but I did use a lot of those sentiment dies or sentiment tags inside. So first one. Next one happens to be another one with crocheted ribbon, so you know what I did there. Again, you take this kind of grayish blue and put it on top of put it on top of a piece of Adorable Scoreable so I could wrap my ribbon around it and attach it in the back. And then I set that whole thing up on foam squares so it wouldn't have a funny bulge there when it was glued down. But I think that turned out really pretty. You'll notice I'm not going to add a tremendous amount of extra things because these toppers are so large. In this case, I've added a few jewels. I added the jewel butterfly right off of their sheet and the little happy thoughts on the inside. You'll notice that in many cases I've used smaller pieces of paper. Sometimes that's all you really need to do on the inside, just create an accent and a place for your tags. In other cases I've just used the tags on the inside. I used every single scrap of paper from this kit on the 30 or so cards that I created. So it would be useful and helpful to have your paper stash available, and you might want to add some additional sheets as you're working. In this case, I've taken 2 colors. I've covered my A6 card in 2 different colors of the background paper that they provided. I think that's a nice look to kind of get that variety in. Just pulling the colors from my topper sheet added some nice bling around there. We have some new little bling in the store called Baby Bling that are these littler rhinestones. I've been searching and trying to find some of those for you. A little thank you tag on the inside. I just said thanks. Here's one where I've used one of those bling flourishes like I did in the last card kit. I thought that looked really pretty up there, just as a way to kind of fill the space and kind of add to the overall elegance. I added these pearls here to the topper just to kind of continue that pearl theme, and some pearls along this edging. All of that is just attached on top of a piece of gold mirror covering my A6 card, but didn't that turn out pretty? Just put 2 little butterflies on the inside. Next up is birthday wishes. I like that topper, it's so bold. Although it took a little creativity to figure out how to use a topper that bold and that size. In this case, I just decided, using my bow maker, I tied that pretty burgundy or wine-colored bow, and I wrapped my edges around. Again, this piece is on some cardstock because that allowed me enough oh, what's the word I want? I didn't want it to be real flimsy, so I just wanted enough strength there to be able to wrap my bow around and keep everything flat. These little corners were provided on the punch-out sheet and the birthday wishes. You'll notice I've hid my work again under that topper sheet that I've created, and it's between that and the mirror board, so my ends are out of sight. This big hello's right off the sheet, as well as the little butterflies and the topper here. This is layered using a little bit of foam tape. This flower was right off the sheet. And the only other thing I've done here, in fact, I put my background paper directly down to my A6 card on this one, but I still wanted to add a little bit of gold, so I took a couple jewel border dazzles, the gold jewel borders. Inside, I used a little strip of paper and one of my extra sentiments, and I think that turned out real pretty. Here's one of our foofy bows tied with our bow maker and a little pearl slider there. I thought that was pretty. I've added the pearls here to tie in the slider that I used there. This is a triple bow, and I've just fanned it out a little bit. If you don't know for sure how to tie that, take a look at our video on using the bow maker. And then I've just added, I hope you can see it in the video, I've just added some little tiny bling inside some of the flowers just to kind of add to the glitz of the card a little bit. I've run a border behind here, and in this case I've taken my paper and put it right down attached to my A6 card. On the inside, just a little piece of paper and one of my toppers. One of my sentiments. I like this one a lot. I think that's very elegant looking. In this case, once again, I've used a piece of gold mirror board covering my card, and then I've taken 2 pieces of colored paper and butted them together in the center, and I used a piece of wine ribbon. This color of wine is now available in the store. It's a 5/8 inch ribbon. I put one of my little 3/8 inch sparkly butterfly slides onto that ribbon. We now have them in gold, and I've added 3 little jewels to the top and the bottom and a couple of little rhinestones around on the topper itself. But didn't that turn out pretty? I love the sentiment with love, or with prayers and love. And just a little flower on the inside. Next up, there's that purple rose I love. This is a Just Because card, and this is one place where I've used that that hot off the press ribbon die I told you about. I cut a piece. In this case, I took a piece of mirror board out of my 50 Shades of Mary. I'm still working on that. You get a lot of sheets in there, and I took one of those, and then I cut my ribbon out of a matching piece of material. I put my butterfly up in the top. I put this one down on foam tape. I took the 2 different colors, butted them together, ran my ribbon across both of them, and I like the way that you see the pink and the green through there. Isn't that pretty? And then added some foam tape and put this big topper on, added 2 squares of foam tape to the outside and just one on this side where it's leaning on the other topper, and added some rhinestones for a little bling, and I think that turned out really pretty. Have a beautiful day inside. Next up, hope this get well wish brings a big smile to your face. Wouldn't you want to get that card if you weren't feeling good? That's so pretty. Again, I've used two colors. This accomplishes two objectives, by the way. You add an element of interest by using two colors in the background, but also when paper is really scarce, I didn't have any too much paper in this kit. I barely finished with what I had, and I was able to cut smaller strips and use those strips instead of whacking out big pieces and just having little pieces left. I found that to be a really good strategy to make my paper last. Some toppers in the corner here, in each side, and I added little rhinestones to the center of those flowers just to add a little extra sparkle. Of course, the whole thing is on some gold mirror board. Next up, hello friend. Here's another one where I've used that crocheted ribbon. I just love the way that looks with the style of these cards for some reason. I just thought that was really, really pretty. And a very, very helpful background accent when you're using toppers of the size that these great big ones can be a little bit challenging to use, especially when you have a standardized size card that you're using. This could easily have been on a 5x5 or a Gatefold card or any number of different styles, but using a 6x6 I had to get a little creative with how I made that all come together. So put my little jewels in place just to add a little extra bling. Thinking of you on the inside. I tried to kind of match the toppers on the inside to the outside in most cases. In some cases I just used what I had. I love this one. Look at that bow. Isn't that pretty? Just tied with our bow maker. A little bit of extra bling here. In this case I've covered my card in this charcoal color and then put the pink on top. I thought that was really striking. Added my little accent stones, my little heart up at the top there. Of course I've used my slider on my bow there. Kind of a matching greeting on the inside, sending you sunshine and smiles. Love that. Here's my purple again. I tried putting a little glitter on these, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't real happy with glitter effects on this paper for some reason, but this still turned out pretty. It just was an experiment, but it was still pretty. This time I made a easel card. An easel card's, I've explained this before, but let me just go through it very briefly again. It's easy to do an easel card. You've already got an A6 greeting card. Take this flap over, fold it to the center, crease it really good, cover that with a piece of paper to create a completed image when the card is closed. Then when you glue your topper on, glue only half, only the bottom half. Cover the inside and create some kind of a stopper. And what I mean by a stopper is you want something that's going to catch on so it stands up properly. This has two pieces of foam tape under it so it can be a really effective stopper. Added my little bow that I tied with my bow maker. In this case you may not be able to see it on the video, but this has both pink and purple. I tried pink. It wasn't quite right. I tried purple. It wasn't quite right. I tried pink and purple and it worked out great. A few little rhinestones just for fun. Done. Okay, next one up. Ooh, I love this topper. I played with this and played with this to see what I could get that I liked the most, and ultimately I ended up using it just on a solid background. I've covered my card with gold, of course. Cut my background sheet just slightly smaller so I get that nice gold border around. Put my topper across. Added one of those pretty flourishes and put a foamed taped little sentiment right on top of it. I think this is probably one of my favorite cards from this kit. Added a few little jewel rhinestones. Here's another stand-up easel card. Made exactly the same way, folding to the center to create that mountain fold here. Okay, so when it's closed, I've got a nice solid sheet there, and when it's opened, you see my nice greeting inside. You see my little stopper. In this case, I cut this bottom piece back just a little bit, and I added this nice border with a scallopy edge along the edge, and that way I got this nice patterned edge to my paper. I thought that was really pretty with the easel card. Next up, I had lots of round toppers in this set. I liked this one. Now you get this piece of background paper in there, and it just kind of looks like a little gray pattern on there until you actually add it to your as a background. Once you put it down as a background, start putting things on top of it, that black paper or the gray paper with the white and darker colors in it actually looks very lacy. And I thought that was really pretty, which was the inspiration for putting these nice ruffly edges along the lace. Added a couple of toppers here on foam tape, a nice bow in the center, and I liked it just that way. I didn't do a lot to this one. My little rhinestones on there, and then covered the inside. And I did use a piece of my border strip here. Like that one a lot. Here's my next one. And using that same background paper, in fact I think these both came off the same sheet, these toppers did, and gold Mary in the back, the gray in the front to create that kind of lacy pattern, 3 little rhinestones. I used pink at the top and the bottom, added little rhinestones around in here just to kind of add a little bit of glamour to it and kind of bring those images out. A few little rhinestones. I liked using them in the center of these little flowers. I thought that gave just the right amount of touch to it. And many thanks. I like this one. You make my life special. Matching inside. Next up we have Hello Friend. I've covered my card in gold Mary again. I've used this topper. Now, to me, this topper was kind of crying for a bow. It just looked like it needed one, so I tied a nice, pretty bow here. You will notice, nope, it's a single. I was thinking that was a double, but it's not. It's a single. Got my little Hello Friend tag there. I really like that tag. And I put a little border piece here, accenting the jewels, bringing all those colors together. Some little rhinestones on it, and this piece is up on foam tape. Doesn't it turn out pretty? Inside, your truly wonderful friend. Complementary colors. Next up, we have kind of a foofy bow with a flower in the center of it. I've used, again, 2 colors of paper to dry in the colors from the background. 3 little rhinestones at the top and at the bottom, my little slider, a few little rhinestones in the pattern, but fairly simple design. Inside, I've kind of made a similar design using a border piece, one of my single flowers, and a piece of paper. Next up, here's that crocheted lace again. I told you, I love that lace on this. This one I intentionally set a little bit off to the side. I just wanted to kind of add an element of interest to it. This time I ran my ribbon along the join between the 2 colors of paper. I think that's a nice technique that comes out pretty. And again, I've put those background sheets on a piece of Adorable Scoreable so I could make this cardstock here hefty enough to handle bringing the ribbon around the edges and attaching it in the back so none of my work shows from the inside. I like this one a lot. The bow on this one was kind of an afterthought. Once I put it there, I thought, oh my, that really needed that. But I love the design of this card. Look at that pretty, rich kind of gray tone. Who would have thought of using that gray with gold? But this was one of the papers they provided, and with this black topper, I just thought that the black with the gray was really pretty. This is up on foam tape. I've got foam tape under my happy birthday. This is actually just part of the pattern paper over here. I did run 2 lines of thin line dazzles, gold thin line dazzles up the side. Added these rhinestones at the corner and the rhinestones in the pattern, and I just think that's stunning. The bow once again is tied in that wine ribbon from using the bow maker, and that wine ribbon is now available in the store. and just used a leftover piece of that paper with that nice pattern and put a little birthday wishes topper in the center. I thought that was pretty. Love this one. It's my daughter's favorite card. Just a very different color scheme in this one. And in this one I've taken a light blue paper and done it directly to my card. I have put a border strip down the side. I use these two little flags, Forever and True Love, and the bird cage with the two lovebirds. And it's got a little tiny heart between the birds. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's cute. I used a gold jeweled slider in the center of my bow. I had these little red accent rhinestones. Regular rhinestones would have been just fine there, but since I had the little hearts and it was kind of a love-themed card, I stuck those on there. This is up on some foam tape. Inside, I just kind of brought those colors to the inside also and used some of my leftover accents. Here's a fun one. Here's a Gatefold card, and I actually abided by the rules, and I actually used the A6 card to create this Gatefold. What I did is I folded both sides of my card to the center. See that? There's my original score line. Then, just to keep it from flopping in the center, I added an extra piece of card stock to the inside of my card, and that created a nice firm surface back there. But it's easy enough to fold your own Gatefold cards, especially on these lighter weight card stocks like these are. Used my big topper. I had two pretty edge pieces I thought looked nice off to the sides of those. In this case, I used this bright fuchsia ribbon. Something out of my stash. Some gold line dazzles at the edges of my two. These pieces end up being 3 by 6.5 inch pieces. As usual, I've got my little hidden treasure there under the flap. I like to do that on my Gatefold cards. And didn't that turn out pretty? This is quite a stash of cards. They're sliding everywhere. Okay. Next up, we got the two roses. These two little flourishes were on my punch-out sheet with these roses, and this is up on foam tape. These two little roses match other roses underneath, so I could layer those. This is all one piece of cardstock, of background paper. The lacy pattern was part of that pattern, and I liked making kind of a foofy bow. I didn't want it to be real wide, because I didn't have a lot of space there, so I only partially foofed it out. But I did like the way that looked. In this case, I'm finding it easier sometimes with these slides and organza ribbon to actually use a double piece of ribbon for everything, starting at the beginning and then running clear through my ribbon making process. I'm finding it useful to have a double piece of ribbon there because it covers the bar and the slide nicely if you have a double piece of ribbon. So just a little tip I'm learning there. A little leftover flower inside. Okay, what we've seen so far is the 24 A6 cards that came with the kit. In these others, I may have used other card sizes. This one, I've taken, it happened to have been an ivory card I had sitting here. I took an ivory card, I attached my heart to it. I left a little piece here. Can you see that? The difference between the ivory and the white? I left a little overlap there so that I wouldn't be cutting my heart all the way. And I think that made a beautiful little shaped card. Used the Best Wishes banner across my heart and added a few little flourishes and a velvet bow using the new velvet ribbons. I wanted to just see how nicely the velvet ties using your bow maker. It's a little bit bulkier, so it takes a little practice, but they come out really pretty, I think. And that's a very classic looking bow on a very classic looking design. So I thought that was pretty. Here's our next one that's a shaped card. And in this case, I think I used, did I use for a card? I think one of the cards I had sitting here may have been a 5 by 7. and I attached this topper to the 5x7, and it barely fit this way, but then I cut out all the way around it and made this pretty shaped card out of that. And isn't that gorgeous? Just that I didn't do anything but attach this topper to my card, add these little bits of bling, and that's just all it wanted. I thought it was really, really pretty, just like that. Very elegant. Next shaped card I made, I love this one too. Again, I just took a card that was sitting here. I think it may have been a 5x7, but I attached my card along this edge and left this edge, of course, uncut, and then I just followed with my scissors along this very simple pattern and created that very elegant look. All I did then was I added a little thank you, I added one rhinestone to the center of my butterfly, and then I just thought it wanted just a little bit extra gold right there, so I added a tiny little gold butterfly there. That was it. Put a butterfly in the middle, done. Next up, this is an A2 card. I used a piece of my background paper, covered my A2 directly, put my topper on. This is actually glued straight down to my card. Added some rhinestones here and here, a few little rhinestones on my pattern, and one of my extra flowers. Done. I thought it was pretty. It's simple, but it's really pretty. Lined it with a piece of leftover paper. Another A2. I love this sentiment. Hoping time brings your sorrow. Let's try that again. Hoping time heals your sorrow and brings you peace. And I thought this was pretty with the borders and the black. And this is literally a case of paper piecing. I was down to the end and I didn't want to waste this topper because I thought that was such a beautiful sentiment and would be so useful for a sympathy card that I literally took little pieces of paper I had left and pieced them in and then put the borders over the joints. And I think on one side I actually had even a little gap that I covered with the with the ribbon. You can't see it now with the border piece. And so you can get really creative sometimes and just get everything you can out of your kit. All of this I did not, other than the adorable scoreable I added and my mirror board pieces, I didn't add any extra background papers to this kit. Everything you see I did with the kit itself. And here's one more card. Now I know this is done on a 5x7. I was a little dismayed that this topper would not fit the A6 card they had without leaving the top of it exposed, and somehow that just bugged me. So I got an A7 card. I attached my topper directly to the A7, and you can see I left a little bit overlapping here so that I wouldn't be cutting those edges, and then I just followed again this fairly simple pattern around the edges to make this pretty shaped card. Didn't do much to it otherwise, it just doesn't want a lot. I added this little flower and a rhinestone here, a little rhinestone on the dot of my eye, and added that pretty little bow, and that was it. Put a little piece extra on the inside. Okay, so we got 30 cards in total from this kit, and I think we got some really nice cards. You also get, again, this nice idea sheet from Paper Wishes. So this has been the Rose Garden Foil Topper Kit from Paper Wishes. You can get this and all of the supplies that we used in the construction of these cards at simplyspecialcrafts.com. I'm Debbie, and we'll see you next time.